Hi students, can you see this current carrying wire on your screen here? In this chapter, we are going to study what happens to a charge that's placed near a current carrying wire. Did you know that a charge that moves near a current carrying wire experiences a force? Why does that happen? This force is what is called the magnetic force, the same force that is exerted by a bar magnet on iron filings near it. So where does this magnetic force come from, near a current carrying wire? And what is its exact magnitude? We'll study all of this in this chapter related to the magnetic effects of current. Here we go. Now, the first thing we'll study is the field near a current carrying wire. So, if you take this wire here through which current is flowing, what do you think? Will there be an electric field near this wire? What do you say? If we place a stationary charge near this wire, will the charge move? Well, if there's an electric field near this wire, this charge should be moving because we know that a stationary charge has a force QE acting on it if E is the electric field. However, a current carrying wire in general does not have any electric field associated with it. The reason is that electric field is created when there is excess charge. So for example, if you had a charge plus Q, we had earlier studied that the electric field due to the charge plus Q will be 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into Q by R square, remember? Now this Q charge had an electric field associated with it because it was the excess charge on the body. You see, in every body there are protons and there are electrons. There are positive charges and negative charges. And in general, bodies are neutral because these charges balance each other. When there is an extra charge, an extra 2 electrons or a dearth of 2 electrons, in that case, an excess charge is created. And the electric field is because of that excess charge. If you look at this current carrying wire here, you can imagine, these charges here to be the electrons inside the wire. When the current is passing, the electrons are simply moving. They're drifting upwards as the current is flowing upwards. But where is the excess charge? There is no excess charge on this wire. There are as many protons on this wire as there are electrons. Only some of the electrons are free and so they're moving, in a certain direction. And the rate of flow of these electrons is the electric current. But there is no extra charge on this wire at any instant. And therefore, there will not be any electric field because of this wire near the wire. Therefore, since the net charge in the wire is 0 and the net electric field due to the wire is 0, a stationary charge placed near a current carrying wire will experience no force acting on it. However, a fascinating thing is observed when we move the charge and give it some velocity. You see, when the charge moves in the presence of an electric wire, we see that a force acts on it. This force is actually called the magnetic force. Isn't it weird that a force should act on the charge when the charge is moving, but the force does not act when the charge is stationary? Yes, it is surprising, but this is because a new field called the magnetic field has come into the picture, which exerts a magnetic force on the charge. A current carrying wire produces a magnetic field. This magnetism is what we are going to study about in this chapter and the chapters to come. Just as electric forces and gravitational forces are special kinds of forces, magnetic force is a type of force, a different category of force altogether. Where does this magnetic force come from? Exactly what is the magnitude of this magnetic force? We will study all that very, very soon. What is important to note here is that electric forces and magnetic forces are the two kinds of forces associated with electric charges. Understood? So, if you have a charge Q which is stationary, an electric force QE acts on it, isn't it? There is no doubt about it, where E is the electric field in which the charge Q is present. Similarly, just as we have the electric field, we have the magnetic field, and a moving charge experiences a magnetic force when it's placed in a magnetic field. Now, the exact value of the force that acts on a moving charge in a magnetic field has been found to be F equal to QV cross B. This value has been experimentally determined. F is the magnetic force here, Q is the magnitude of the charge which is moving. V is the velocity of the charge. And B is the magnetic field. The magnetic field represents the extent to which the magnetic force is acting in a region. So for example, if there's a magnetic field in a region, this means that, if you place a charge in that region, that charge will experience a magnetic force. The magnetic field, as you can see, is represented by the symbol B, capital B. So as you can see, the magnetic force is the cross product of V, the velocity vector of the charge, and B, the magnetic field vector. What will be the units of magnetic field? Well, in this formula, the magnetic field is considered to have a unit Tesla. This is the unit of magnetic field. Tesla here. Tesla was a great scientist who contributed a lot, to the study of electricity and magnetism. And that is the reason the unit of magnetic field has been named after Tesla. In this expression, F, the force, is in newtons, Q, the charge, is in coulombs, the velocity is in meters per second, and the magnetic field is in Teslas. 1 Tesla is quite a large quantity. In fact, whenever we say that the magnetic field is 1 Tesla, it's really huge. Generally, we talk in terms of 0.3 Tesla, 0.1 Tesla, things like that. Initially, the study of magnetism may sound a bit complicated to you, because you might have questions like, where did this magnetic force come from? As in, we have a current carrying wire. We had learnt about electric field till now. So why is this current carrying wire exerting a very special kind of force called magnetic force? But you'll slowly get used to the concept of magnetic field and magnetic force as we proceed and move on and read more chapters related to magnetism. So don't worry if initially it sounds a bit confusing. Now, as you just saw, the value of magnetic force is QV cross B. If QV cross B is the vectorial representation of the magnetic force, that means that the magnitude of the magnetic force is QVB sine theta, isn't it? After all, if there are two vectors, A vector and B vector, in that case, the magnitude of A cross B will be AB sine theta, where theta is the angle between the two vectors. So in this case, the magnitude of the magnetic force is QVB sine theta, where theta is the angle between the velocity of the charged particle and the magnetic field vector. So here you go. This is the expression for the magnetic force. Now it is obvious from this expression that the magnetic force on a particle which is moving parallel or anti-parallel to the magnetic field will be 0. Isn't it? Because for that particle, theta will be 0 or 180 degrees. So for example, if this is the magnetic field here, you see this one, in that case a particle which is moving like this, or like this, will have 0 magnetic force acting on it. Isn't it? Because theta will be 0, so QVB sine 0 will be 0. On the other hand, the value of the magnetic force will be maximum when theta, the angle between the velocity vector and the magnetic field vector, is 90 degrees. Now that is also obvious because clearly the value of sine theta is maximum when theta is 90 degrees. So in that case the magnetic force will be QVB. Isn't it? So these are some points that you have to remember. Now we've got the magnitude of the magnetic force alright. But how do we determine the direction of the magnetic force? In which direction will the force act? For example, if B is in this direction and V is in this direction, will the magnetic force act in the direction of the magnetic field? Will it act perpendicular to the magnetic field? How will it act? Remember the electric force used to act in the direction of the electric field? That is not so in the case of the magnetic field. We have a special rule called the right hand rule to determine the direction of magnetic force on a moving charge. You see, if the velocity vector of a moving charged particle points like this, and if the magnetic field, in which the charged particle is present, is like this, in that case, you can determine the direction of the magnetic field by curling your fingers from V to B, like this. And then the direction of your thumb will indicate the direction of the magnetic force on the charged particle. Understood? I'll repeat it for you. To calculate the direction of the magnetic force, first hold your palm in the direction of the velocity. Now slowly curl your fingers towards the magnetic field. And when you do that, the direction of your thumb will indicate the direction of the magnetic force on the charged particle. Of course, the magnitude of the magnetic force will be QVB sine theta, isn't it? So this is how you have to calculate the magnetic force on any charged particle. You must remember this right hand rule. Here we go. So again, as you can see, V is in this direction, B is in this direction. So if you curl your fingers from V to B, the thumb points upwards. That is, the magnetic force is upwards. You have to note some very important points related to the magnetic field that are especially useful in competitive examinations. The first point that you must note is that the magnetic field is always perpendicular to the velocity. That has to be so. You see, magnetic force is QV cross B, and the cross product of two vectors is always perpendicular to both the vectors. So in this case, the magnetic force is always perpendicular to the velocity. What this also means is the magnetic force does not change the velocity at all. You see, for example, right now the magnetic force is acting upwards and the velocity is like this towards the left. Now you might feel that the magnetic force might cause an increase in velocity in this direction, isn't it? After all, there's a force acting upwards. But that will not happen. That is because as soon as the magnetic force increases the velocity in, say, this plus z direction upwards, if this is the x direction and if this is the y direction, in that case, let's say it gives a velocity dv upwards. As soon as the magnetic force provides a velocity dv upwards, the net velocity vector now becomes like this, isn't it? Because the net velocity vector will be the vectorial sum of this velocity v and the extra velocity dv imparted by the magnetic force. Therefore, now the velocity changes its direction. Now since the magnetic force is always perpendicular to the velocity, the magnetic force starts acting in this direction. Now again, it will try to increase the velocity by dv in this direction. But when it again tries to increase the velocity dv in this direction, the net velocity vector now comes like this. Similarly, now the magnetic force again acts perpendicular to the velocity, comes out in this direction. The point is that the magnetic force vector is always perpendicular to the velocity. So as the velocity changes its direction, the magnetic force also changes its direction. Understood? So in the end, the magnetic force never ever leads to the change in the magnitude of the velocity. So you must remember that the magnetic force never changes the velocity magnitude of the particle. Understood? This is very, very important and you must remember this concept. And the core reason why this happens is that the magnetic force is always perpendicular to the velocity. So no matter what the velocity direction is, the magnetic force becomes perpendicular. So if in any direction the velocity increases because of the magnetic force, immediately the magnetic force again becomes perpendicular to the final net new velocity. Understood? This might seem a bit difficult to grasp, but try to visualize it and you will definitely get it. Now, the work done by the magnetic force is always zero. This is again a fascinating concept that you have to remember for all competitive examinations. You see, the net work done in infinitely small time by the magnetic force is dw equal to f dot dx, isn't it? Now, in the case of the magnetic force, what happens is that the magnetic force is always perpendicular to the velocity, isn't it? And the direction of the instantaneous displacement at any point is the same as the direction of the velocity, isn't it? If the velocity is in a certain direction, the displacement will also be in that direction at that particular instant, isn't it? And since the force is always perpendicular to the velocity, the force is also always perpendicular to the instantaneous displacement. And so the net work done is zero because the force and the displacement are always perpendicular to each other. Understood? And that is the reason the work done by the magnetic force is zero always. Another fascinating fact related to the magnetic force is that the change in kinetic energy because of the magnetic force is always zero. Now this is because the change in kinetic energy will occur if the magnitude of the velocity changes, and we have just discussed that there is no change in the magnitude of the velocity because of the magnetic force. And so you see, there is no change in the kinetic energy. If the kinetic energy initially is half mv square, then even after 10 minutes in the magnetic field, the kinetic energy will still be half mv square. Understood? So there, those were the basics of the magnetic force. The magnetic field notation is another very interesting concept. You see, whenever the magnetic field is acting inwards inside the plane of the paper, it is depicted by these cross symbols that you see on your screen. Whenever the magnetic field is acting outwards, towards you, coming out from the plane of paper, in that case, this symbol is used to depict the magnetic field. Interesting symbols these are, aren't they? So for example, if this is a plane here and the magnetic field is acting like this, then when you look into the plane, you can actually say that this is how the magnetic field can be represented. Understood? Similarly, if this is a plane here and the magnetic field is acting like this into the plane, in that case, this is how the magnetic field can be represented. Understood? So these are the magnetic field notations. And now that we've studied so much about exactly what the magnitude of the magnetic field is, in which direction it acts, let us now try to study exactly how a charged particle moves when it is placed in a magnetic field. Does it trace a curve? Does it move in a straight line?